Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all for listening to Haven't Seen It, a movie podcast. I am your host, Tim Sestito, and alongside me is my good friend, Tommy Tevenet.
Hey, guys.
We want to thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciated all the positive feedback that we got from the first episode on Home Alone 2. We're really glad that you found a lot of enjoyment in the show. We're really glad that you liked it, and we're going to keep on working on the podcast and building it, coming up with more categories to kind of structure the show a little more. But we're going to keep working through and finding our rhythm. And I think after a couple episodes, we'll be much more structured in that way. But we're really glad that a lot of you found joy and humor in the episode, and that's what we're hoping to bring to you. So
yeah, and definitely follow us on our socials at Haven't Seen It Pod or Seen It Pod, and give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. So we really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. So for this week, we decided to do another Christmas movie. We know that time of the year is coming up. We know you have some car rides, maybe you're with some family you don't really want to see and you're just trying to get out of the room for a little bit. I don't know what you guys are doing, but we decided on doing another holiday classic. And for this one, it's a movie that I have not seen.
All right. We did Scrooged, the Bill Murray classic. He's hilarious in it, as he is in every movie. And we can't wait to talk about it.
This holiday season, Bill Murray gets Scrooged. I'm going to be visited by 3 ghosts. A ghost? Tomorrow at noon.
Not tomorrow. That's bad for me, Lou. As a matter of fact, the whole rest of the week is a washout.
So don't miss the party. Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. They work with the checks, but not with me.
Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, November 23rd at theaters everywhere.
So this is Scrooged. This is the Bill Murray classic, as Tommy stated before. It stars him, Karen Allen, and John Forsythe, and it's directed by Richard Donner, who is best known for directing Superman, Superman 2, and the first 3 Lethal Weapons. I don't think he did 4, right?
No, he did 4 too.
He did do 4.
He was even supposed to do 5 before he unfortunately passed away earlier this year. But yeah, so
so
has his hands all up in there.
Had his hands all up in Lethal Weapon 4, which is obviously the most renowned in the series, but
it's better than 3. But yeah, that's a whole different other story. So, Timmy, I really have to focus on though. Have you never seen Scrooge before?
That's a good question. It's one that kind of ellipsed my movie going watching. It's not the kind of movie that I think my mom would love per se, but
yeah, it's not exactly a kids movie in terms of Christmas classics.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I think for for teens, I think it's good for teens in that sense, like where it kind of filters in a little more. Not that it's not a scary movie, but they definitely filter in more like horror-ish elements and kind of the way that like the models are built and like some of the makeup and the costume design, especially of like the ghosts of Christmas.
Oh yeah, no, the ghost makeup and in general, just like they really just went for it and just really try to make them kind of creepy with the Christmas Carol aspect.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler alert! This follows a very similar structure to A Christmas Carol, and
yeah. But if you never heard of this movie,
if you never heard of this movie and it wasn't given away from the title, but yeah. to give a brief rundown of this, synopsis of Scrooged. Scrooge, starring Bill Murray, who is playing Frank Cross, who is a network executive. He is as selfish and as arrogant and as much of a prick as they come. And his old boss shows up and as a ghost and tells him that he has to turn his life around, or else he's failed and he's meant to be doomed. And the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future come. Follows all your hallmarks of it.
Yeah. All the good beats of Christmas Carol.
So I guess I'll say this. It was interesting to see how they kind of weaved the classic Scrooge story. So the way the story kind of overhauls is Bill Murray as the executive is running a live version of Scrooge for network television, ripped straight out of the Dickens novel on the TV. And while this is happening, he is experiencing the exact same thing, but more, about him personally. And I really enjoyed it. Bill Murray has a lot of charm, and he can really dial it up a lot in a lot of ways that keeps him kind of the grounded middleman, but also he can go zany, but he doesn't lose you as kind of a straight man. He's always great at like Ghostbusters. He's the straight man of that bunch. Like,
Oh yeah.
On that team, like you have Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who are the other two co-stars, and they're kind of much less grounded, especially Harold Ramis. And Bill Murray was always the one that, even though he was in on the plot, he was the guy that you could relate to, and I think that's always been Bill Murray's greatest strength.
More than anything, Bill Murray's always been great as being like the sarcastic asshole. Like one of the reasons why Ghostbusters works so well, on top of so many other things, is that like while there's the horror elements are real, you can see Bill Murray just being a sarcastic asshole and kind of downplaying a little bit. And we get a little bit of this in Scrooge too, kind of playing a little bit of the same beats. In fact, even the poster for this movie referenced Ghostbusters, because they realized like, hey, like Bill Murray and ghosts, that's all you need. So I think if I remember correctly, the tagline was Bill Murray's facing ghosts again, except this time it's 1 against 3. So they're definitely capitalizing on the fact like, hey, Bill Murray again, he's in Ghostbusters. Don't forget.
Don't forget that big movie that we're still milking 40 years later, Ghostbusters. Yeah. Don't.
At the time, it was only 4 years later, but still, it came at an interesting point in Bill Murray's career. I guess we'll probably pick up on this right now. So Ghostbusters came out in '84. Huge success. Obviously, we are still talking to this day. We just saw the new Ghostbusters last month. That's a whole other story we can get on. But basically, Bill Murray gets that. Huge success. Everyone loves it. Then he makes this movie called The Razor's Edge that people fucking hate. Bombs at the box office, a terrible thing. Bill Murray's pretty much like, okay, like I don't really want to do movies for a little bit. He travels somewhere else, just like goes out of the way and everything like that. And then after this, he doesn't really lead in the movie for a while. He does like little bit parts, like Little Shop of Horrors and stuff like that. And Scrooged was his real comeback. So you get there, Scrooge is like, okay, this is his first real lean role since Ghostbusters. We're gonna forget about Razor's Edge. Let's go straight to Scrooge again. Bill Murray and Ghosts, winning combination. Let's see how it goes. And honestly, I think it played out really well.
Well, and they were probably also tying in on the fact that Ghostbusters 2 was coming out, right after, right? That was the next year, right? That Ghostbusters
it was the
2.
next year. I looked it up. This movie came out in like November, and Ghostbusters 2 came out in June of the next year. So about like 6 or 7 months after.
So there was probably a trailer of Ghostbusters 2 playing before Scrooged in a theater.
If a marketing executive wanted to keep his job, he would have done that. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. They're not stupid. They know how. They're not. Hollywood isn't always smart about making good movies, but they are sure smart about getting your butt in that seat. That has always been their greatest strength. But even after that, he had What About Bob, Groundhog's Day, and that, like, Groundhog Day was probably like the peak of the original Murray run from Ghost, but like if you want to call it from like Caddyshack-ish to Groundhog's Day. And then he did Ed Wood, where he's kind of a bit part. Kingpin's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid sports movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny movie.
It's a funny movie, but it's not on the quality of his past works. And then he did, Larger Than Life and The Man Who Knew Too Little. And and when you're in Hollywood and you start to hit that like 40s to 50s, right? I think he's about 50 at this point.
Yeah.
Where he's no longer really seen as like a viable leading man, and he's making a movie where he's paired with an elephant. If
not the best.
I'm a Hollywood exec.
And his like other biggest role at the time was probably Space Jam, which I love, obviously, but probably not the best real role for him at that time.
Different conversation. We don't.
Yeah, exactly.
He was good. He was good in that. but
That's another 3-hour pod right there. Let's just say that.
What, me and you arguing about whether Space Jam is a good movie or not?
It's a cinematic masterpiece. That's all I'm saying.
It's a cinematic masterpiece compared to Space Jam 2, A New Legacy.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, anything's better than that pile of shit.
But it, and then his career really resurrects when he kind of takes, like, he hasn't done as many comedies. Rushmore really resurrected his career when he paired with Wes Anderson. And then from there he did Lost in Translation and The Life of Steve Aquatic, and that
he kind of pivoted more to like the dramedy type roles where it's not like straight up zany comedies, but it's more like, there's humorous elements to them, but not really just like straight up like Ghostbusters, just like sarcastic asshole Bill Murray that we love.
Yeah, and they're not straight. Like Rushmore's not a straight drama. It has it's too much charm to be kind of in a traditional drama sense. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that this is kind of like, well, I didn't realize that Bill Murray I guess I'm like looking at his IMDb page now. I didn't realize that he really kind of just took a break from he didn't release anything in 1985, and then
seriously, Razor's Edge just depressed him. I forget the exact story, but it was like he like went off somewhere and he pretty much just like wanted to almost retire from acting at that point, just because he was so bummed out about that, because I think it was just like a real passion project for him.
But I've never seen Razor's Edge, but I've heard that it's not a movie that I need to digest.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that we need to watch. I mean, I haven't seen it either, but
if we ever wanted, he wrote it. That would definitely have a part of it to do with why he was so passionate about it. But if we ever want to do Bomb Movie Month, which, hey, if anybody listening would like to listen to bigger movies that completely flopped and you want to hear us talk about it, that's totally something we could do.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like 5 years down the road.
5 years down the road. Let us know on Twitter and Instagram if that's what you want, and we'll see if we can make it happen for you. But anyway.
So getting back to Scrooge, the movie that we're covering.
That's right. We're doing a podcast on Scrooged and not on Bill Murray. Oh, wait. One last Bill Murray fun fact, because we're not fun fact, but this is. So I think this was 2018. I went to the Brooklyn Barge on Memorial Day.
Okay.
And after we left the Brooklyn Barge, we're just like wandering it's right in Red Hook. And we just wanted to go somewhere to grab like a quick bite to eat and maybe a drink or something following that. And we walk into this like restaurant, and it's got this like these white, it was like all white, like kind of marblish, but with like heavy purple lights coming down on all of it. And as we're walking in, some guy at the door just starts shaking our hands. It's Bill Murray. Swear to God, it was Bill Murray shaking our hands at the restaurant.
Just casually. And what was the reaction where you're just like, oh shit, Bill Murray?
Just like, oh, very nice to meet you, Bill. Like I'm not a like, oh, like now let me go talk to Bill Murray, because I know. Yeah,
you're not the star fucker type. I'm not either.
Yeah, but he. So I texted my cousin who lived around the area, and he's like, oh, that's Bill Murray's son's restaurant. Like Bill Murray's son owned the restaurant, and Bill probably is financially invested in the restaurant, so that's why he was there. But we were there for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. I can't remember. Around an hour.
Were you just like staring at Bill Murray the whole time, just like oh, like please notice me or something?
No. Well, no. It's more of like observational behavior. Like he wasn't going to talk to us like that, which is fine. That I knew.
You're not big enough for the Murray train.
Well, I mean, I'm like a guy in my 20s. You think he wants to talk to me?
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, but Bill left there with a woman around his arm. And, he looks his age for sure. He did not get the Paul Rudd treatment of Botox when that was made available to him. He certainly wears his years, if you will. But
he definitely looks like a guy in his 70s.
Yeah, and God love him, he left with a woman more than half his age.
Gotta love him for it. Bill Murray's gotten this like great reputation in the last like 5 to 10 years, where he'll be the type of person that you'll see at an airport bar, and he'll come up behind you and whisper and say, "No one's ever gonna believe you."
Yeah, that's an old. That's an old internet myth. That's like from like the early 2000s, where they were like, I think the original one was like, I was at Wendy's and Bill Murray was there, and Bill Murray walked up, took a fry, dipped it in ketchup, and said, "No one's going to believe you that this happened," and then walked away. Like which
I'd love to believe that this actually happened, that Bill Murray is just the type that he's like, I'm just gonna fuck with random people now.
yeah, I'd like to think that this was before marketing agents, like that rumor was before like marketing agencies became
Before PR
savvy.
agency. Yeah.
Yeah, before like not that they didn't exist before that, but before they became savvy to like starting to spread internet rumors. Like people like the prequels now because when Disney bought Star Wars, they invested a ton of money into making bots of memes of the prequels, and you see the entire movies across any internet platform. And people are like,
Yeah.
oh, they aren't that bad. But if you sat and watched them, you'd say, oh, why did I waste 2 hours of
This
my
is
time watching
shit.
this?
Yeah.
It's not good. That's part of that's what PR agencies have really been able to weaponize online. And I think those rumors, like I remember hearing that in like high school, which is
Yeah.
you know,
No,
a
it's
little,
even more so now. Where it's like you even notice like nowadays, if like a video game or a movie or something like that gets some really bad reviews, you'll start noticing the Rotten Tomatoes critic score having 10-star reviews are so glowing and so like just out of believe it. Where it's like this was the greatest movie I ever seen, and meanwhile it's like fucking Space Jam 2. We're just gonna keep on ducking that today.
you mean Ghostbusters 2016 that
Yeah,
got
even that. I mean,
that
no,
got
yeah.
were you about to say that Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't that bad?
It was a mediocre movie. I think it was like a 5 or like a 4 out of 10.
That's not mediocre. That's bad. You gotta up your 5 is
Well,
bad. Two is like a train wreck. It's more interesting in the context. That Ghostbusters movie is more interesting in the context of it being like the 25-year awaited sequel. They said, oh, we're doing our own thing with it, and then they just did the same Ghostbusters movie, but they didn't have any of the humor from they lost the original humor of the original movie. But this is not a podcast about Ghostbusters. This is a podcaster about Scrooge
and Bill Murray facts.
and Bill Murray facts. Apparently, that might be our new
Yeah.
That might be our next podcast name. Just finding out random Bill Murray stories. We'll keep it on the back burner. Let's see how this one goes.
Where in the world is Bill Murray?
All right, so let's actually try to dive in a little bit on Scrooge.
Okay, focus on the movie we wanted to cover.
You mean the movie we just watched like 2 hours ago before we recorded?
Yeah, like I think literally just finished it about an hour ago.
Yeah, so I want to say I really like that there was a cameo by the $6 Million Man himself, Lee Majors, in the opening seconds of that movie.
Basically, for those of you who haven't seen the movie opens up with a scene of Santa and like some 80s type action movie where he's like with a machine gun. Lee Majors shows up out of nowhere and he's like, oh, $6 Million Man, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, you go. Yeah.
Oh, well, for those of you who do not know Lee Majors, which might be anybody born in the 90s and beyond.
That's not pop culture junkies like us.
Yeah, but Lee Majors was the $6 Million Man, which was a TV show in the 1970s where they rebuilt a man and they invested $6 million into him and made him like an android or something. I don't know. I never watched that.
I think he's like a super robot or some shit.
Yeah, it's like half robot, half man, and he just like he's basically like Superman, and he just but he does it on a 70s action TV budget.
Yeah,
that's
literally my first note of when I was taking notes for this movie was I would love to see that Lee Majors Christmas special.
Oh, that's literally what I have. It's literally what I have written down here. The night the reindeers died. That's literally how the movie opens. Because it doesn't even once they start, it like kind of pulls back. Like the camera kind of pulls back. Like it starts off like you're watching it like a normal movie, and then it pulls back and you're clearly in like a television studio with executives around the board table watching it, and IBC, the channel that they work, IBC presents like Christmas, like they did Cajun Christmas. They did a follow-up to Leave It to Beaver, which was Father Loves Beaver, which I'm not sure is trying to be a clever joke or not.
It was definitely trying to be a dirty joke. Was Leave It to Beaver still popular back then? I mean, that's what I was wondering. Because
I don't think it was necessarily. I mean, my grandparents showed me episodes of Leave It to Beaver. Like I've seen episodes of it when I was younger, and that was like right.
Would it be like the equivalent of like if they did Scrooge in 2021, they'd be showing like a Friends sequel or something like that?
Nah, yeah. No, well, Friends is like, maybe.
Well, Home Improvement, maybe. Home Improvement would be a better one for one, I guess.
Well, I don't know. TV back then is kind of complicated because television in like in the 50s and the 60s, even like there's a critic, Alan Sepinwall. He wrote a television book. He's really well renowned, and he said he wrote a book called The Top 100, and him and another critic ranked their top 100 shows of all time, and they said you're going to notice a lot of shows from the 60s, the 70s are void of this list. Like I think there was only like 5 or something on there, and they said like you have to realize that most of that television content was like designed by like cigarette companies and by chip companies, and like what you see on the set of, like if you ever watched Mad Men, which is one of my favorite shows, but on the set of Mad Men, like there are a lot of times they'll go to like the production set. Like you have to realize like these programs were, television was just a medium to advertise.
Sell ads.
That's all it was built for. And while it still does that to this day, very much so, I think a lot of television like HBO and even Netflix to an extent, but that's another bone to pick. But they've invested what movie studios used to invest in quality storytelling. You know, like when you think of like great storytelling from like the 70s to the 90s, like in movies, like there's a ton of classics that basically replaced the gold, like what used to be referred to as the golden age. It still is, but
well, it's one of those things like television in general, until probably like I'd say maybe in the 90s, and I'm probably breaking my mom's heart if she's listening to the podcast, but in the 60s and 70s for a lot of it was disposable.
For sure.
Yeah, it was like television wasn't really the medium it is today, where like people are doing like great stories like Breaking Bad or Mad Men or stuff like that. Dramas, I feel like, weren't really as much, and it was very much more like barely even serialized, like to the fact that like, you know, you didn't have a season-long arc on like freaking, I don't know,
they were
Bewitched.
those, you're thinking of like comedies, but there were a lot of like Dallas kind of shows that were dramas, but they were way more soapy than they are today.
Yeah.
Like,
well, even like going back to Lee Majors, $6 Million Man, I feel like was kind of like a case of the week, like X-Files almost, or something like that.
That's what it was. And it was, and like they would film 40 episodes in a year. Like it was a heavy churn and burn. Like if you, like TV today makes 30-minute 10 episodes. Like that's it. That's it. Those people would do hour episodes that were 52 to 55 minutes, and they would put 40 of them out a year. It's kind of great. And I'm sure there's been like regulations in the industry that probably didn't exist when it started, but it's, you know, I think they've realized, especially with the rise of streaming, that it's better to invest in quality, not in quantity, because quantity just burns people out, where quality shines through.
It's one of those things like watching like TV shows now, where it's just like there's like or TV shows back then rather, where it's like there's like 25 episodes in an hour-long TV show, and it's like by the time you get to like episode 10, it's like, okay, like this is all filler at this point. Like you need maybe like 8 of these episodes at most.
Well, anyway, back to Scrooge. Well, actually, we can tie this into Scrooge, because when the ghost of Christmas Past takes Frank, and it's a great setup of the scene. He's at lunch with the head of the network,
Frank by Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum,
great actor. Night of the Hunter, great movie. I think this is one of his last big performances too. Sounds like
right before he retired, right? Or died. I don't know, but
he died in the 90s, whatever.
But he so they're out to lunch, and this is right after he met with his old boss, who is Lou Hayward, and Lou Hayward is in this great costume when he comes in, or great makeup costume, where he's just a zombie. Like he said he's been dead for 7 years, so
slowly deteriorating and everything.
So you can see how deteriorated it is. He tries to drink a Bacardi, and Bill Murray tries to shoot him with the pistol that he has in his desk, and he's like, "Hey, I don't mind if you hit me, but don't hit the Bacardi." And he's like pouring himself a drink, and it's like starts pouring out of his.
That's so great.
Out of his like features, like it was really clever like that. But he tells him that at noon the next day, you're going to be visited by one of the ghosts of Christmas. And part of that, and I guess to tie this, to still set this up a little more, before the dinner and after the ghost leaves, the first ghost leaves, the ghost dials up Frank's old girlfriend, Claire Phillips, who was played by Karen Allen, the great Karen Allen from
Indiana Jones,
and Animal House. And he leaves her exasperated message about seeing some, he sounded like he had a ghost. He saw a ghost, and Claire visits him on set before the meeting. So, he sees a ghost from his past, but she's really there. And Claire is the exact opposite of Frank. Frank is selfish, driven. He wants to run the world, and Claire is selfless and helpful and wants to help save the world. That's her thing. And she works down at a soup kitchen. The two polar opposites, and 15 years later they've gone different paths. But they go to so after that he goes with the boss to lunch, and at lunch he's telling him, oh, you're stressed out, you're breaking out, and he starts seeing hallucinations. Like, he gets a drink and he sees an eyeball in the cocktail, and he sees a waiter on fire, and he tries to put the waiter out and he just ends up spraying him with water.
And pretty much, I did love the little joke after that of the Richard Pryor joke mentioning him of sorry, I thought you were Richard Pryor.
Oh yeah, that was good. Wait,
the whole time when I was watching that whole scene of Bill Murray just literally in the restaurant, I was like, Bill Murray, this to freaking Robert Mitchum, who is in this scene, he's like, is Bill Murray fucking tripping on acid right now? What the hell is going on? He's going on a bad acid trip right now. Things are going weird. Things are freaking crazy.
Yeah, and this movie is set in the modern day of 1988, is when it's supposed to take place. And he's definitely the kind of person that still calls people hippies, he's somebody that's just that cut of a cloth is his character. But when he leaves the restaurant, he takes a cab, and they go way back to one of his earliest Christmases in 1955, where he goes into his childhood home, and we see Frank at 4 years old, and Frank is just glued in front of the television watching it. And his dad comes in from work, and he's like, hey kid, here you go, Merry Christmas. And he gives him 5 pounds of veal. And he's
great gift.
He's like, I wanted a train. He's like, yeah, well, why don't you go get a job? And the mom's like, but he's 4. Why? He doesn't need a job. He's 4.
Yeah. And it's so odd that his dad's played by his Bill Murray's real life brother, Brian Bill Murray. Where it's what?
That I noticed was his brother.
Little jarring. So it's one of those things in the movie. So there's obviously with Christmas Carol, there's four ghosts, really. I mean, there's the Jacob Marley character. Which was the name of it again?
I have it up here. He is Lou Hayward.
Okay, Lou Hayward. So yeah, Lou Hayward, as we said before, great freaking makeup. And then we have David Johansen from the New York Dolls. He's the frontman of them, playing the Ghost of Christmas Past. And I think that he makes the movie, honestly. I mean, he steals every scene he's in. The little brief time he has, I think he's my favorite of the 4 ghosts. Just so much manic energy right there, and just crazy ass shit.
Well, we spend the most time with him for sure in the Ghost of Christmas Past. But yeah, he's the cabbie that you're terrified of getting. He's everybody that's been in New York City or any major city with reckless drivers has gotten into a cab, and once you get to your location, you say, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and you think up to the big man, because you do not understand how you survived that cab ride. That is that guy.
He's really the guy that he would be going freaking 80 miles per hour down Times Square or something like that, weaving in and out of traffic and shit. What is going on?
I remember we had an Uber back from me and my friends had an Uber back from Hoboken, and we're in this Uber and in the Lincoln Tunnel, which is very narrow passage, and he is going the Uber driver is going at least 75, 80, and I just start texting my friends what the fuck is this guy doing? He was going so fast. It's a Lincoln Tunnel. We what
the hell?
You don't need to be going 80 miles per hour in the Lincoln Tunnel.
And you have the panic attack. You have the panic attack in that, where it's just do I just like leave the freaking taxi right now? Do I just like bail? Do I just
Not-
do a
well,
barrel roll?
You're in the Lincoln Tunnel. You don't really have a say at that point. You just
Oh, yeah.
kinda,
You're in
there's
for the
no
ride.
there's no getting out of that taxi cab. That is just in the name. That is just a. I mean, it was later. I think it was like 9 or 10, so it wasn't traffic, but it was like, why are you going? Like, if you want to go 10 over, okay, fine. You want to go 50, all right, that's fine. 10 over the speed limit. The guy
Yeah.
was flying, but that is who is the ghost of Christmas Past, and we really, to tie it all back together, we see his connection to television, and like they even have a conversation back and forth about he's like, Phil, you never lived life, and he's like, yes I have, and he starts quoting TV shows.
Yeah, like, he's like, oh, like, what about that time I hit the big baseball? And it's just like, oh, that was when you saw Little House on the Prairie, kid.
Yeah, that was it was yeah, he's just quoting TV shows for his life stories, and he doesn't really
Very relatable.
yeah, he doesn't really have any of that. He very clearly was just raised by screens, and he's not able to connect with people, and that's his biggest flaw. And then we cut ahead to 1968 when he's just working in the mailroom at the television studio, and
With the killer mullet, Bill Murray's just rocking.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, let me I know it, and it doesn't really matter, but like I love when movies just try to de-age actors by giving them like longer hair, and it's like,
Yeah.
we're supposed to believe he's like 22, but he looks like 45-year-old Bill Murray.
He still looks like mid-40s.
Ridiculous. Like, they don't even try to put any makeup on him to maybe try to de-age him.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, if this movie was made now, like we would have like the Force Awakens almost, where it's just like or
a little de-aging.
Yeah, a little de-aging technology.
Yeah, some of the de-aging technology, or the Irishman. hopefully not that bad. But
no, exactly. Is that what's going to be like? We're just not going to cast like younger actors and just going to be like, okay, fuck it. Like, Robert De Niro, you're 80. You're going to try and stomp on someone on a fucking curb, and
you're going to look like an 80-year-old man stomping on him. Okay.
Yeah. But
yes,
your face is going to look like you're like 30.
Yeah, but it's going to break the uncanny valley too. That's the other thing too.
The best part.
You saw The Mandalorian, and you saw the fan react. Did you watch the second season of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, so I guess big spoiler alert, because I know exactly where you're going to go. If you haven't seen The Mandalorian, we're just going to warn it right now. Spoiler.
It's been out. It's been out a year. Spoilers we're talking about a 4-year-old movie and a TV show that aired a year ago. If you wanted to see it, you've seen it already. But
fair enough.
They have to rescue the baby Yoda that you have seen, and who comes to rescue him is Luke Skywalker, who is being played by Mark Hamill, but they completely de-aged his face. Like, they just made him. They
looked like Mark Hamill of the 70s.
Yeah, they made him look like, right after Return of the Jedi, Mark Hamill. But even in Rogue One, like, they paid for the family of Peter Cushing for the likeness of Peter Cushing, and they CGI'd him in.
Well,
like,
there's weird shit like that happening where it's just like they're making a movie. They got permission, like a Vietnam War movie. They got permission of the state of James Dean to play the main character, and they said, this is so great, we couldn't have thought of a better actor than James Dean. This would have been his third role, and this is one of those things, like, you couldn't find like another random white actor today to star in your fucking Vietnam War movie.
James Dean in 1955 has no idea that Vietnam's a country. Like, and you're making him star in a Vietnam War movie. That's not even an actor that lived through the era of Vietnam. He's from like the 1950s.
It's gonna be one of those weird things where like we're gonna see like we're probably seeing it right now, where it's like commercials of like actors from like 50, 60 years ago, like John Wayne, for example, or something like that, where he's gonna be like, I'm John Wayne's son, Coca-Cola now, or some shit.
Yeah, the big studios, and I think we'll save this larger discussion for maybe when we cover more of a bigger blockbuster. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of creative bankruptcy and a lot of reliance on what instead of trying to make something new that
Yeah.
like, but
we,
even
we won't even go into spoilers, but like the new Spider-Man, like for example,
well,
is,
you can't go into the new
no,
Spider-Man.
not going to spoilers, but just based on the trailer alone, from what you could tell, they're just
Yeah,
rehashing the old villains and stuff like that. And
yeah,
so,
but
but anyways, back to Scrooged.
back to Scrooged. We
Back
have
to
to do.
Scrooge, this
We
movie
have to
that
stay.
yeah,
We have to stay on task here. So yeah, one thing I want to touch on before we kind of advance the plot further is his
yeah,
relationship with his secretary Claire, who he's clearly had for a while.
Mhm.
They and she's a single mother with 5 children. She lives in a tiny apartment with her mother, so their grandmother is helping raise them while she works to pay them. He's not paying out the Christmas bonuses. Like, she's asking, like, what do I get people for Christmas gifts? And he's like, what should we get your brother? Get him a towel. Like, we're
yeah.
that build up, and it's kind of easy to tell with a movie called Scrooged, like, is the main character going to be like Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah, real detective work right there.
Yeah, real detective work, which is probably why we didn't really like cover it. But I think she plays a bigger role in Hullingham, and she plays a pretty fairly substantial part there. Bill Murray kind of carries the whole movie. Like, Karen Allen's listed as the second lead, and like, I don't think there's a big jump between.
She's only really in the movie for maybe like 20-30 minutes compared
Not
to Bill
even.
Murray.
I would say 20 minutes.
But it's one of those things, like, so Scrooged, obviously, Bill Murray's character, if you haven't gathered from everything we're talking about now, is obviously the Ebenezer Scrooge of the story, Bill Murray.
I literally
And
just said that, Tommy.
oh wow, wow. That's
Thanks
where my
for
mind is.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for yeah. No, I'm really paying attention, but it's one of those things that, like, the reason why this movie works is that Bill Murray's character is just such a goddamn dick in this movie, and it's the greatest laughs in movies where he's just calling people bastards and stuff like that, or just randomly being like you said, like cutting the Christmas bonuses and everything.
He tries to, like, the boss said, we found some research that says that that dogs and cats are now getting more attracted to television, so we want to include content in our content for them. So he's trying to they were like, put Mouse in a Christmas Story, and like, when he sees Karen Allen for the first time, the poor guy on the set, he's making a good wage. He just wants to go home to his wife and kids and enjoy his Christmas, but he's got to do this stupid production of A Christmas Carol. And he's like, we can't get the hats on the rabbit. And they're like, we've tried super glue, we've tried everything. And Bill Murray's like, did you try stapling them?
And Karen Allen's just like, what?
What? No, I will have the Humane Society down here. I will, like that. But so, yeah, but with that relationship, it's interesting because that's part of it that grows as we see the windows into the life. And we discover with the Ghost of Christmas Present, when he gets taken to her apartment, that her husband was killed 5 years ago, and her youngest son doesn't speak anymore, and he hasn't spoken since he lost his father. And where he goes, oh well, I think I need to give her a raise and things like that. But it's important for her to be mentioned in the part of what expands Bill Murray's heart.
Yeah, it is one of those things that's very funny though. Like, this movie is obviously very not subtle with like what character is supposed to be what of like this version of Christmas Carol, where with her kid, the silent one, where literally you're introduced to the character of him watching an old production of Christmas Carol from like the 40s or something, and it's literally him that is watching the Tiny Tim line of like, God bless us everyone, and it's like, okay, so there you go, there's the Tiny Tim character of the story.
yeah, and spoiler alert, that's the one line he says in the movie right at the end, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to tie that in, but we go through the 60s and the 70s, and we go to like this rockin' Christmas party, which they totally wouldn't film that scene today. Where they're like, yeah, people used to have fun on this, and like the secretaries are like photocopying their asses like on the thing, and like just handing them out like, Merry Christmas, everybody. And Bill Murray's like, oh, I'm not interested. I'm just trying to deliver the mail and go home, even though it's like Christmas Eve. But he bumps into Karen Allen, and that's where he gets his nickname Lumpy that he tries to hide at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
She whams him with the door of a record shop or whatever. and it jumps from there, and then the next Christmas Eve is them together, and like he gets her Jinsu knives and she gets him the Kama Sutra, which is a very weird Christmas gift. I'm not gonna lie, even if you're in a loving relationship, I just,
that's a very bold move right there.
well, it would be a bold move if he gave it to her, but her giving it to him is a little less bold in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
but still kind of a weird Christmas gift. But it's one of those, I guess one of the odd things to me is they try to, like, it was like the father loves beaver joke at the beginning where it was like trying to be this like meta. I'm like, I don't think this movie needs like in the like they're like they were trying to put like they didn't put sex in the movie, but they're trying to be like put a little sex in the
very weird. Very weird sex jokes.
Some executive is just like, oh, like the Kama Sutra is making a run back at it's run back up to the top 50 national bestsellers. Why don't you just throw it in there? She doesn't get him slack. She gets him she gets him the Kama Sutra. Like I don't think that's like worthy of a Christmas gift personally, but to each their own. But then it skips to 1971. Christmas Eve, and Frank is now playing Frisbee the dog. So it's like a
very creepy kid show type thing where I was watching, I was like, what the hell is this?
Well, that was, I feel like that was pretty par for the course of children's entertainment, like live action children's entertainment in like a live studio audience sense. Like back then
they're wearing a random like stuffed animal costume and stuff.
Well, for kids, they realize kids kind of just, they'll watch anything that's designed towards kids. So why put any money into it? Just here's a giant dog and like a goofy mailman, and all right.
This works.
But he gets invited out with Les, who the ghost. We see him living because the ghost tells us, he's like, oh, I was your only friend, I was your mentor, and this is the moment I think where he becomes his mentor. But Karen he invites him out with her and Claire, who's Karen Allen, and Claire shows up at the set and she's like, oh, but we had dinner with whoever her friends were, and they were like, and he was like, well, yeah, don't you see this is an opportunity? And then they separate and they never talk again for 15 years, which I guess is kind of weird, but their lives definitely went in two different directions.
He went very businessy and she went very charity.
Charity given, a non-profit route in corporate terms. But then he shows up at the studio and he's like, he realizes what he wants. That's the one thing he realizes what he wants, but he's still the same selfish prick. So he wanders down to the homeless shelter that Claire works in, and he's like on a rant, like he's on a full bender. And at this point they had already so they brought somebody in the West Coast to help share the load with Bill. That was what that lunch meeting was about. And he's like the clear guy that knows that he's trying to get your job, but he's trying to not be like, he's trying to be friendly with you about it. So like Bill Murray hates him off
immediately catches his bullshit. It's like
off the jump, that kind of fake, that phony friendliness of
the fake corporate nicety, where it's just like, all right, guy, like, just like, I know what you're going for.
But like they're sitting in this is the other thing I didn't fully get, was like they were sitting in the homeless shelter and he's sitting there with a group of homeless people. Like I know he played the dog in that show, but then they're like asking him to quote lines. Like, did these people think that, like, was he an actor as well and then just became a network executive?
Or was this one of those situations where like the dog show was that freaking popular? But even then, he was in the suit the whole time. So it's like, to put it in perspective, if you haven't seen the movie at this point, basically it's like, imagine like Barney the dinosaur, pretty much. Best comparison, 1-to-1 comparison, I guess.
Yeah, so it wasn't really clear, and it doesn't really matter, but it was one of those things I was just like
what?
I get just putting like some random guy in the suit that's just trying to jump up the career ladder, they're just like, well, we need somebody in a dog suit. It really doesn't matter. You just like fall over. Okay, I'll do it. That's very classic thing. But he goes in there to try to get Claire, and she's like, we'll go get Chinese food together. We'll and then, there's chaos. Oh, there's no turkeys. There's no this. And Bill Murray's like, well, why don't you just go down and to the A&P and buy? It's like he very
totally out of touch. And
clearly hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, he's still a dick. That's one of the things that I was trying to think about it. Like other adaptations of the Christmas Carol, you really just go like from like ghost to ghost to ghost to ghost. But what I liked about this was that like you get time in between that you realize that like yeah, he's still a prick. He's still an asshole now. And it's like okay, so you just saw the Ghost of Christmas Past, then we get like 2 scenes of him without without ghosts. And it's just like still an asshole. Still hasn't learned his lesson.
Yeah, and I also like that he's not like the mayor of the town or you know the banker in like the tale.
Mr. Rich. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wealthy, but like when you're wealthy in New York, that doesn't mean a lot. There's a lot of wealthy people in New York, so it doesn't really differentiate.
Yeah, he's not like the wealthiest person in New York.
Yeah. Oh wait, also, can I just tell you one of my favorite? This is from the very beginning of the movie. I meant to mention this, but there's one scene with Bill Murray. It's right at the beginning. He's like walking with his brother, who's trying to get him to come to Christmas for like the first time, and he's like, "Listen, I love you, man, but no, I'm not coming." And then he cuts off an old lady for a taxi, like an 80-year-old grandma with presents, and then it cuts right to him accepting a humanitarian award.
I didn't even notice that part.
and then he takes a cab back to the office and he leaves in the cab. He like leaves the award in the cab.
Just doesn't give a shit. Clearly,
I started laughing so hard. It was just a great flat cut. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I know this is a little off the rails right now, but
at this point you're in for it. I mean, we've covered maybe like 20-30 minutes of the movie at this point.
If you're listening to this point, you don't really care that much about the movie, let's be honest. But
we do. That's why we're covering it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, god damn it. But actually we've covered about an hour of the movie. Like
that's
the last
fair. That's fair.
The last half an hour is very quick. So after that scene, like when he walks out, one of the homeless guys he was talking to before asked for $2 for like coffee or something to warm him up, and Bill Murray just like walks by him, doesn't care, and then he goes back to the set of A Christmas Carol. That was the other thing I really liked. I liked how they intertwined like the actual Dickens adaptation, and you always see like the classic snowy London set, or English set. It's not set in London. I can't remember.
But whatever it is.
It always cuts back to there, and then he
sees
a Christmas present shows up, and the ghost of Christmas present is a fairy. And to say that she was an interesting character design, because the way she spoke and she was dressed like a girl that still goes to EDM festivals in their late 20s, early 30s, and like all their friends from before have outgrown it, but like they just still really haven't outgrown that phase of their life. And it's like, oh boy, like you're still wearing like the pixie wings and the tutu dresses, but she's a prince. She's a fairy. She's a ghost.
At this point, she's so like freaking just like strung out. If she was a real person, or just like out of it and brain fried.
But she spoke. But she spoke very similarly to like Luna Lovegood in the Harry Potter movies, in that kind of like whimsy, kind of like aloof.
Yeah. Carol King, the actress who played her, is great at those types of roles. Were just like the great like wispy or very like high pitched voice and stuff like that.
She also beats the hell out of Bill Murray too. She just abuses him. Like
I called her the ghost of kicking Bill Murray's ass more than anything.
She hits him in the nuts several times. But the first shop she takes him to is his secretary's house, which we mentioned before, where he learns about what happened to the husband. And there's like a great line. She's like, I didn't realize she lost her husband. And the ghost is like, do you not remember the year that she wore black for a year straight? She's like, I don't know. It could have just been a fashion trend. How would I know?
Just very relatable.
Very, very relatable. And then we go to the brother, and we watch the brother's house, which we haven't really mentioned, but he's kind of like not that important.
The brother is actually one of Bill Murray's other brothers. So
is that which brother?
Not the guy from Mad Men, because there's
Not
Brian
Joel
Joel
Murray.
Murray, because Brian Doyle Murray is the guy who has played his father.
That's his oldest brother, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Brian Doyle Murray is his oldest. I'm gonna look it up right now because I forget. But why don't you riff a little bit? while I look it
Yeah.
up?
Well, so they're doing a trivia game, and his brother can't name any of these easy TV questions from the 1960s.
Oh, to be fair,
And
I'd fuck him up. It was John Murray.
John Murray. Okay.
And he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so one of the lesser Murray brothers.
One of the lesser Murrays.
Yeah.
But they opened the gift from the brother, and instead of a towel, Carol sent which classic secretary name. I feel like Carol's just a very
Yeah.
What's the secretary's name? It's Carol. Okay.
Yeah.
And in that sense, they but then the brother gives a toast to him, being like, "Hey, he's not always here, but I love him. He's the best brother I could have." And it warms his cold heart. And then you get boom transported right to under a sewer. And under the sewer is the man from before that Bill Murray refused to give $2 to, dead, completely frozen to death. And the $2 would have saved his life. And he starts. This is when Bill Murray, who was already dialed it up to about a 9, just dials the rest of the movie up to about a 12.
Yeah.
And he barges down the door of the sewer, and he ends up right on the set of A Christmas Carol at the studio 3 minutes before it's about to go live. So, dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
And then he hits a barrel, and it crushes the HR lady, the compliance lady that's there, which was a running gag, but she just gets she's just the physical
completely prop. Yeah, she's one of those people that just gets constantly abused. So just to touch on a previous point real quick. So with the homeless guy that died, how long did it take you to realize who that was in the movie? Did you realize instantly?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no, so the homeless guy who wasn't given the $2 that died.
Is that his dad?
No. I'm asking, as in, how long did it take you to realize who that character was in the movie?
Oh, I got it instantly.
Shit, you're smarter than me, because I literally I haven't seen this movie in a little bit, but I was watching it. I was like, too many minutes. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Well, it just made sense in the context of the movie. It wasn't going to be anybody else.
That's fair. So, anyways, moving on. So you're saying
we're moving on. So yeah, from there. He's having a full panic attack on the set, basically, and they actually do a really good fake out where the other guy from California who's there, it's like, why don't you Claire, why don't you take him upstairs? And they do the elevator, and then there's the ghost of Christmas Future as the devil is there, but the devil is it's the one for the actual production. So he gets on his knees, and he's like, I know what's happening. Just take me. Just do it. Just do it. And then it's like, that kid's going to be a star. Real believable.
He's a great actor right there.
So he goes up to his office. He's drinking. He knows it's coming. He can sense it's coming. And then they do another good fake out. And this is somebody we totally have not mentioned. But this is, what was his name? Elliot,
played by Bobcat Goldthwait.
So he was great in this. So right at the beginning of the movie, Elliot, this guy, random just TV executive, stands up to Bill Murray, and is like, I think this is a this promotion you cut is a terrible idea. And Bill Murray fires him instantly behind his back. So he loses his job, loses his wife, and he just comes in with a shotgun, and he just starts shooting at Bill Murray.
What's great about the performance from Bobcat is that Bobcat's always known as the guy that's the loud, obnoxious type. He was in the Police Academy movies and all this stuff. He has a very loud, obnoxious voice. So I first saw the movie, I was like, this is an oddly restrained performance from him. And then you slowly see throughout the movie that he gets slightly more unhinged, where it'll cut to him randomly trying to drink a fuck ton. And it's it keeps on the bottle breaks, or someone steals the bottle from him and stuff like that. And then right when we get to the scene with the shotgun, it's just There we go. There's the Bobcat I know. There's the fucking crazy asshole I know.
Yeah, he goes off the reservation. He's trying to kill him, and as he's avoiding him, Phil hits the elevator button and he goes into the Christmas future, and he sees Cheryl visiting her son in a padlock room at an asylum, because he still can't speak, and it was just visitation hours on Christmas. He cuts to Claire, who is now snotty and rich, and there's poor children asking for money, and she's shooing them away, and she's like, well, I got great advice that I need to just take care of myself. And she like turns to him and just says, thanks, Lumpy. Which
Total
I thought-
180.
total 180, which is, he's like, that shouldn't happen to you.
Yeah.
And then he goes to his funeral, but he thinks it's his brother's funeral at first, but it's not. And it's just him and his wife, his brother and his wife there, and they burn in the coffin, and then he's back, and he gets Elliot on his side. He gives him like a promotion or whatever, and then they just it goes kind of off the rails, and Bill Murray goes on like about a 7-minute monologue, and he crashes where the end monologue in A Christmas Carol should be. He just crashes the live show of it and
does his own take on it.
Elliot holds the production room hostage with the shotgun. Like he's literally
one of those things that's freaking hilarious, but it's also I wrote down a note. Yeah, this probably aged the worst out of the movie.
What, just holding the
everyone hostage.
But I will say that speech from Bill Murray was very passionate, because I think it was about like 6 or 7 minutes long, because it's right up until the end of the movie when the credits roll. And he's
great in it, but it's one of those things that like Robert Mitchum like constantly is like trying to break in and like being like, okay, like we need to stop this now. He's ruining this. He's done. So do you think Bill Murray got fired? His character got fired right after doing that?
Depends on the end ratings and the reception of it, because like you saw at the end that Robert Mitchum is like dancing with his wife, because Bill Murray's like, you shouldn't be watching TV, call a close friend, call that college roommate, call that ex-army buddy, call whoever. And it's an interesting rant, except for when he calls out Claire and then mentions like the Karma Sutra position that they did, and I was like, this is weird.
So can you imagine
that weird joke? Yeah, and she's like giddy about it. I'm like, if that would happen to me, I'd be humiliated, especially
on live television. It's one of those things. Can you imagine? So like, take it to the place that like you're watching like A Christmas Carol on NBC, and NBC's like, we have Christmas Carol live, and all of a sudden this television exec, you don't even know he's an exec, some random guy just stumbles onto the set, interrupts it completely, and just starts going on this random rant. Can you imagine watching and be like, what the hell is going on right now?
I mean, the one thing about television, and if the past, since Scrooged came out 33 years ago or whatever it is, if anything has taught us about that, like people eat up and love meltdowns on television. They love when a live show fails. It's not like a play where you'd be kind of ticked off. You kind of think it's funny. Yeah, like that. The Oscars slip up of La La Land versus Moonlight is one of the funny. It's one of the funniest.
Oh god, that was one of those things that I remember. Like when that happened, we're watching the Oscars at my friend's house, and all of a sudden they announced La La Land won, and then one of my friends goes, "Wait, is something happening?" Because you could see in the background, like people just being like, "Wait, we got the wrong movie."
Do you think the same thing happened when Marissa Tomei won Best Supporting Actress for my Cousin Vinny? I know I think that's a Futurama joke too, where they're just like, screwed up like we did with Tomei, like they're at like some Oscar ceremony, like, which is unfair to Marissa Tomei. She is very good in that, and she's great.
She is great. She's great. But yeah, no, it was, when I was watching the whole Back to Scrooge, I was just thinking the whole time, I was like, I can only imagine like, because Christmas Carol is probably like 9:00 on Christmas Eve, and you're watching this, and it's just like going off the rails completely.
Yeah,
it'd been amazing.
It would have been great, because you're sitting there with your family on like Christmas Eve watching A Christmas Carol, and you probably had a few drinks in you, and then it just like the God bless us everyone bit happens, which happens with Claire's son. He picks him up, very much echoing the classic little Timmy
Yeah.
scene in a regular Christmas Carol, and he says his one line, "God bless us, everyone," in a very very hushed voice, may I add. But I guess compared to Bill Murray's energy, it's not fair to hold like a 5-year-old comparable to
Yeah,
to,
you can't
to,
match the Murray.
match Bill Murray's manic energy on that set. So yeah, that's pretty much Scrooged. So I guess we just kind of ran through it a little bit plot point by plot point and just went on a rambling rant about it, which
Yeah.
I think ended up working out in our favor, to be honest.
Yeah, seriously. So, just some fun things about the movie. Bill Murray turned down Rain Man, Big, and Cocktail for this movie. So I think he made the right choice. I couldn't imagine him in Rain Man. I couldn't imagine him in Big.
I could imagine him in Big. I could imagine him in Big.
I feel like he would have been too sarcastic for Big because you need like Tom Hanks who's like very earnest. And
Yeah,
very,
yeah, maybe, but Bill Murray just, and it's kind of like Tom Hanks too, where they both
Yeah.
just have a likability factor to them that
Yeah.
if Big would have been a different movie with Bill Murray on it, but I still think it would have been a good movie because
Yeah.
that I think that's Penny Marshall, right? Penny Marshall.
yeah,
directed
Penny
it.
Marshall. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she's a fantastic director, so that wouldn't be surprising to me if a Bill Murray version of Big would have been good. What was the first one you said? I'm sorry.
Rain Man, which
Rain
I
Man.
had-
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
No,
Oh,
that would have been
maybe
bad.
maybe it's Dustin Hoffman's character. I could see that.
I could maybe see that, but
I could
and
see
then
that.
the last one was Cocktail. I think that Cocktail in general is a movie that we probably don't want to discuss. Yeah,
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay.
So-
It's fun. It's a fun watch. It's you can watch it.
Like if you want, I guess.
So-
So going down to ratings. So out of 5, Timmy, what would you rate this?
I would give this a solid, on a holiday movie scale. I would probably give this a solid 3, and like for an actual movie, I'd probably give this like a probably around a 3, maybe 2.5 to 3. It's a good movie. It's totally, if you want to watch it, it's totally worth your time. A lot of funny, clever jokes to it. A nice twist on a classic tale. I don't think anything about it totally stands out, and I think there's a lot of logic breaks. And I'm not like a big logic, like, oh, I need to follow the logic of a movie, but a lot of it, like Karen Allen's motivations make no sense. Like she should look at Bill
Yeah.
Murray's character 15 years later and be like, what the hell was I thinking with you? Like,
Yeah,
there
this is
was
my
no-
asshole ex-boyfriend.
There's no redeeming, where their two lives went, there was no redeeming qualities between them. But I thought it was it was a fun movie. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, same. So if I had to rate it, I've only seen this movie about like once or twice before. But this is the first time in a while I watched it, but I'm really glad we watched it again. If I had to give it a rating, probably 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't as funny as it could be. I felt like it could have been a lot funnier.
I would agree with that. There's a lot of clever like hee moments, but it's not a ton of like belly laughing.
Yeah, there's not like a lot of out loud moments, out loud laughing moments where it's just
Yeah.
like you're dying over of laughter. Which is kind of disappointing with Bill Murray, and I feel like it could have been a little bit more manic, but still had a good message to it. Some of the laughs didn't hit, and Bobcat Goldthwait just was great.
And Bill Murray was great. He really carried this. I don't think the movie doesn't work if he can't deliver, and he does.
Yeah. So
Um,
all right.
So let me ask you one last question. Does
all right.
this, we mentioned that there's a ton of adaptations of A Christmas Carol, but
Mhm.
does this hold? Do you think this is better than the gold standard, A Muppet Christmas Carol?
Well, no. Muppet
I
Christmas
agree.
Carol. Yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol is a classic that I probably need to watch today or tomorrow if I have time.
Michael Caine's fantastic in that. But
Yeah,
maybe we'll get somebody on here who hasn't seen that next Christmas.
exactly.
Right.
Look out
And-
for our next Christmas season.
Yeah, next Christmas season. But I think for next week we were going to start to go over some of the recent releases that we haven't seen or just saw, and I think we're going to kick it off with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Woo!
Keep it nice and relevant. We mentioned it a little bit before. We're going to go see it, and we're going to go tell you about it, and we'll let you know what we think, and it'll probably be me just ranting about Marvel movies. But
Yeah.
till then, I'm Tim,
I'm Tommy.
and we have seen it.